Previously on Alone in the Dark.
How's the memory, Mr. Carnby?
Carnby. Professor Edward Carnby. Researcher. Paranormal investigator. Huh? Disappeared under strange circumstances in 1938. 100 years old.
You're the only one that can stop this, Edward. I'm just too weak. You must proceed down the path of light like you've been preparing to do for your entire life.
The hands of Venus will shape the lock to this door, while Mars will fight to bring the key back to the core.
So it appears that there's a second medallion. It's gotta be this key we're looking for. I think you need both stones at the end of the path of light. The person who reaches the end of the path of light will have to make a critical choice concerning the fate of humanity. This person will call the Lightbringer to Earth.
Like people, Central Park hides secrets you shall exhume. Some are lethal, but one of them can save us.
So, after many trials and tribulations, we finally find ourselves at the last leg of our journey. And just as Theo said, it is now time to exhume the final bit of secrets that Central Park has in store for us. Now, just what exactly is waiting for us at the end of that lunar light beam is anybody's guess at this point. It could easily be that aforementioned path of light that we've heard so much about, or could easily be a trap laid out by Lucifer himself to ensnare us in some kind of tricky situation. It's just that right now you might be noticing on the map that there are two new roots of evil that are right nearby. And in fact, we do have one very large hurdle to get over before we can head to the objective. Because if we take a quick look at our overworld map, we will see that it seems that there are just a plethora of routes that we are going to have to deal with before we can head to our objective. Because we are going to need to work up our spectral vision by quite a bit. So for now, it's time to do some extreme gardening. after what equated to about 35 minutes of actual in-game playing time. That is with what I would consider probably the most optimized route we can possibly take. It's now time to take down the final root of evil that we are going to be destroying in this playthrough. Now, I'm not exactly sure why, but this particular root of evil will give you a whopping 10 spectral vision. And while that won't max out our spectral vision, I can honestly say there is absolutely no reason to ever do that. Now on the console, it would give you an achievement, and well, after you do get 100, it will give you a little bonus message in your cell phone that basically says, hey, you have maxed out your spectral vision. Otherwise, though, I don't really think it gives you any other bonus. Maybe, I guess it could give you an increase to how long you can see the weak points on the enemies. It's just, that's not really going to be helpful for where we are going to be going. But yeah, we are not terribly far away from our objective. And, to be quite honest, out of all the things that the game has thrown at us so far, I can say with all honesty and sincerity that this was probably the most discouraging thing that the game had to offer. It just ended up being a lot of unnecessary backtracking, not a whole lot of interesting things to do or see. I mean, there were a few, I guess, puzzle-based routes to take down, but for the most part, they were just kind of cumbersome to get to. And what made it even more annoying was the fact that, for some reason, the game decided to tell you that, hey, you got 50 spectral vision, you can now see this invisible barrier. Which, if you're playing, might make you think, well, you know, that's just what we need to get through whatever is, I guess, blocking the objective here. Just there is a little bit of an additional caveat to that. And we will be seeing what that is in just one quick second, or at least I'll be talking about it once we get there. It's just they also made getting to the objective in a car a little bit cumbersome, what with all these small hills and trees. But it's not too long of a jog before we get there. And here we finally are. The secret waypoint that the light pointed out to us. Seems fairly unassuming, but now that we do have a little bit of time, first we can check out that tip we were given after getting 50 spectral vision. And it tells us that we can see the shield protecting the secret entrance. Now, seeing the shield and getting around the shield are two separate things. And it never actually illustrates whenever you can get around said shield. Also during all that, Sarah did give us one more piece of Theo's diary. Not really anything major here, just that while the curse does have some benefit to it, it is still very much a curse, and will cause pretty much unending suffering for the person under said curse. So, I can only assume that is why Edward is a massive asshole to everyone. Yeah, this is the barrier that we could see with 50 vision, and while it may not seem that overwhelming, that is because once you get past 50 and get up to, I would say maybe 70, the barrier starts to lower more and more. And the reason you do want the barrier to lower is because there is a very large, I guess, alpha root of evil on the other side that you do have to take care of to get rid of the barrier. It's just when you are just 50, there is no way in hell you are going to get a Molotov over to destroy it. So in the end, the game ends up forcing you to backtrack over the entire length of the map, going and killing, let's say, 35 to 40 roots of evil. And it's all to get to this final location here, which in the end is a bit underwhelming, honestly. Kind of would assume more for something that was so coveted. But yeah, looks can be a little bit deceiving here. Yeah, we just need to shine a light on this alchemaic symbol. It should reveal the path forward. Now, you do want to be especially careful, though. This is a pretty deadly drop. Seems they weren't really expecting people to maybe come in this way. Though they were nice enough to leave us a flagpole here. Might be a reasonable source of repelling ourselves downward. Just having a little bit of trouble getting the hotspot here to interact with the rope. And hey, we're finally making some progress into the path of light, I guess. Though, we do reach a dead end. Thankfully, a leap of faith does prove useful here. Just I highly recommend not making another leap of faith to that next rope. Instead, you want to keep in mind what we learned very early on, which is that we can drop down to hang off on a ledge. We just need to shimmy our way over. Yeah, I think we are almost all the way to the bottom there.
Hey, I found a new wrinkle, I'm afraid.
Go ahead. I don't think you can surprise me at this point.
So it appears that there is a second medallion. It's gotta be this key we're looking for. I think you need both stones at the end of the Path of Light.
2 times the fun. Okay, Sarah.
Well, that definitely is a wrinkle in our plan, especially considering that if it is somewhere up there, I don't see a way of getting back up that way. Still, it will be interesting to see just exactly what the Templars had been building all this time underneath Central Park. What they felt was so dire and important that they had to buy huge chunks of New York City to keep hidden. And in fact, I think we might be pretty amazed by just exactly what they built down here. That's right. Say hello to the Path of Light. Yeah, this is pretty much the main focal point of this chapter. It's going to be taking up pretty much most of the video, so let's see what it holds in store. Now, as you might recall, the Path of Light was set up by the Templars to judge the value of a person's character. I can only assume it's going to be taxing Edward's physical, mental, and spiritual strength. In actuality, though, the Path of Light is a bit of an oddity, in that it is pretty much just a set of puzzle rooms. They start us off simply enough. We just need to have the door open, we just need to block the light here. And they do give us this little piece of furniture to do that. But they won't all be this simple. I will say overall that they do set up a very nice atmosphere to the Path of Light here. Definitely feels like a very, very ancient tomb-like area that holds some larger, foreboding secrets. So in this room, we are going to want to get up to that upper doorway there. We do have another ray of light. This one, though, causes a number of shifting pieces of the environment. And we do have this one strange looking box here that we can move about. And you might have already noticed a possible solution here with the fact that this very far corner here does kind of push us outwards. Now, what we are going to want to do is have this box block the light so that the platform there does lower. And inevitably, what should happen is that if we are quick enough, the panel in the lower right hand will push it outwards and we are going to be able to raise ourselves up. Yet again, starting us out a little bit simply, but a little interesting at least. It's just that overall, nothing has really set us up for what I guess they were expecting to do with the last portion of the game, and it does come a little bit out of left field, I suppose, but, you know, it can't all be action and car chases. There has to be some, I guess, amount of Uncharted tomb raiding. Also, it's a bit strange that in this portion of the game, it seems like they do limit some of the controls, but I think it's to make sure that you don't end up running off a precipice here and falling to your death. Everything is pretty tightly scripted, and at least with these little platforming bits, it's pretty difficult to actually fall to your death. And onto our third puzzle room here. This is where things get a little bit more complicated. So we have a environmental timer here in this encroaching flames. And we have a room full of spikes and spinning geometry. Thing is, while this does seem pretty imposing right off the bat, in actuality the solution is not that difficult. As long as we keep in mind the spikes on the ground here, all we need to do is set off the beams of light on the left or right hand side in the pretty simple order of just right, left, and then right. The only thing to really worry about in this environment is the spikes on the floor will kill you instantly, so can be a little bit dangerous your first time around, but once you do get it, actually seems like a pretty simple solution. Thing is, for however simple that previous area was, this one can be a little bit more difficult, just because the timing is pretty precise. It may not seem like it with how these very large hammers swing, but you really only have a very small window to make your move. But yeah, you are able to stop yourself whenever by blocking the beam of light off to your left. And you can make some pretty pinpoint decisions with stopping the platform you're on. So, as long as you're careful, you should be able to make your way through on the very first try. Still though, in retrospect, you do have to be reminded sometimes that this is meant to, I guess, define your value as a person, or maybe see if you're, I guess, a high enough caliber to accept the responsibilities of the stone, or maybe to, I don't know, become a vessel for Lucifer. It's a bit vague, but I don't know if I'm really getting that impression from any of the things we've been doing so far. Now, in this small tunnel here, we do run across something of a little barrier. This unique looking wooden pillar here, well, we're not going to be able to just bash our way through, especially with the ceiling the way it is. But you might notice that the central part of the pillar itself was wood, and well, they do give you plenty of wooden scraps to light on fire with this torch here. This is pretty much to explain to you that you can destroy these pillars by destroying the central wooden parts of it. And the reason it is very important to know that is because this next puzzle here will require us to do that. It's going to require a little bit of a setup first. See the raised door over there? We have what appear to be 2 buttons and a movable pillar. Once we move the pillar, though, the platform does raise, and along with that, the walls start to slowly push their way inward. Also, with the second button, it does ignite the top of the pillar, hopefully this does give you some basic idea of what we might want to do next. It will involve destroying the pillar. It's just, well, we want to make sure and put that little destruction on a timer, which is why we are going to want to light the pillar on fire. Thing is, though, that after you do light the pillar on fire, you are going to want to run as quickly as you can. Because if you manage to not make it to this raising platform, you will get stuck in this room and crushed to death. After all that, we are almost finally done with the Path of Light. We just have one more final test to overcome. And that is overcoming the Path of Darkness. We have a maze here in pitch blackness with a very, very short timer and only this very small little pool of light here to guide us. I could say that you have maybe 10 to 15 seconds tops to do this without getting crushed by the ceiling, and, well, even knowing which way to go, things can be especially tight. Even there, I just kind of paused for a second or two to make sure the piece of wood was lit on fire, and we just barely made it. And now that all that has been overcome, we have finally reached the end of the Path of Light. And in this very large antechamber, we do have what could easily be conceived as being the second key, maybe, or something very important. But in reality, while we have overcome the physical trials of the Path of Light, there is one final thing to get out of the way, and that is solving a little bit of a riddle, which I do apologize, I'm not going to be able to get a very close look at just because there was a crash I had to deal with, but it does mention something about bending a flame. And in this previous circular room here, all these torches that were just lining the walls, we can't pick those up. We are going to need those because first, well, we got to burn this pillar down. Because we are going to need what is sitting on top of it. But more importantly, in this pathway here, we are going to need to keep an eye out for whenever the flames bend. Because they are bending because of a very noticeable draft coming from the wall off to the right-hand side here. And yeah, the entire reason for having this very large centerpiece in the room is to use it as nothing more than a battering ram for continuing our passage into whatever is waiting on the other side of this wall.
Welcome, Carrier. My name is Hermes Trismegistus, and I am your key. Reunited at long last. So the stone finally found a worthy carrier.
Excuse me? What the hell are you talking about?
I am a carrier like you. I split the stone in two when I understood it had deceived us. I crippled it for our own good and locked myself in here to sit vigil over my burden. For centuries I have remained in this room. For centuries the other half of the stone was traveling from hand to hand, murdering and corrupting men. Until finally, it came to you. You are the last, the true carrier. He whose decision will change the world.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I think it's time to introduce you to the wonders of the modern automobile. Follow me.
And rather unexpectedly, the final key piece comes in the form of a brand new friend named Hermes.
At last, I can feel the world again.
Better do it quick. It might not be around much longer.
Edward, I did it. I built the lock.
Finally, some good news.
There's just one little problem.
And I'm supposed to find this surprising...
As soon as I completed the lock, some sort of countdown started. Theo's notes say there's no way to stop it. You've got to bring back the key before it runs out.
Or?
Well, the notes just say that all doors will be locked. I'm pretty sure that means we're fucked.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. You really know how to motivate a guy.
You're welcome. I'm still working on the text of the prophecy. I'll let you know if I find anything. In the meantime, hurry!
The sand is flowing out in the hourglass.
I know. We need a car to carry your venerable ass to the museum.
Sadly, we cannot indulge our new friend in taking in the sights and sounds of Central Park. We only have a very, very short amount of time to make our way over to the museum before, well, all the doors are locked. Good thing is, there is a truck right nearby. It's just, I don't really think 30 seconds is going to be enough time to get over there.
Breaking news, Edward.
Wait. Hey, hold this for me, okay?
What kind of artifact is this?
Who's there, Edward?
There's a soul inside.
This is Hermes, Sarah. He's the key. Don't ask me why.
No kidding. Anyway, Edward, everything begins and ends now. You only have a few minutes. From what I've read, you need to get here, or millions of people will regret it. Now get going!
Well, we certainly can't have millions of people regretting things. We need to haul ass over to the museum.
Edward, the iron helix in the circular room. It started rotating. There's a sphere on top of the helix. It's shining, and it's getting brighter and brighter.
The good thing is, as we do progress, we do get a little bit more time here and there, so we do have at least a little leeway.
The sphere is incandescent and has started to roll down the helix. I'll try to grab it.
It's useless, believe me. I built this system.
How do I stop it? Hey! Shit! The sphere has reached the bottom. The first symbol on top of the helix has been illuminated. There are 5 symbols, 4 remain. Shit! Another ball has just started rolling.
Yeah, it's just the further along we get in our journey back to the museum, it seems that whatever is waiting for us seems to know that we are in a little bit of a rush and will start to pop up these pillars in our path.
Shit! The second sphere has reached the bottom. The second symbol is lit. I can see the third sphere. Edward, this guy knows everything. We must stop this.
Only I can. I'm the key.
The third sphere has finished.
We will live if we deserve it.
You only deserve my foot straight to your balls! Oh, God. The last spear's coming. It's nearly over. Am I going to die alone here? Where are you, Edward? Is the world going to end like this? Wait, hey, what?
Interesting skills, Carrier.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the ride. Next time you drive.
Between the dust and the pillars and the fact that we could only ever have one car, that could be a fairly dangerous situation, but here we are. Finally back at room 943. What we need to do is get to Sarah and hopefully be able to get past all this.
So, here's the man who walked the path of light. Was it a pleasant walk?
You're really starting to piss me off, Crowley.
Let go of me, you bastard!
Shut your mouth before I put another hole in your face. Carnby, you're about to face the hardest test of your life. I can help. No stone, no dilemma. What happens next won't be your fault.
I've had enough of your bullshit. Magical stones, monsters, prophecies. None of that means shit when you've got a bullet in the head, does it, Crowley?
Freedom is the highest of all natural laws. Freedom to take or spare a life. The choice is free. But a man is then slave to the consequences.
Maybe. But this one was a real son of a bitch.
Follow me.
And for all his bluster, Crowley just ends up like any other man. Dead. But while that cutscene was playing, our countdown was still going, so we need to head to that antechamber as soon as we can.
Inspired by the stone, I built this temple with the help of wise men. We thought it a gift to all humanity, but we were each of us betrayed by the stone. This is the umbilicus between our world and the next. This is Lucifer's door to our world. Your stone, Carrier. You are wasting precious time. universal balance is restored. It is time for you to face him.
Any ideas? Do I have to kill him or what?
I don't know. The prophecy ends with a paradox. Lucifer's failure is also his reincarnation.
Damn it, Theo. You could have told me more.
The growing light announces Lucifer's arrival. When the light has filled the 9 circles of the gate, Lucifer will be incarnated. Now, Carrier, this is why you followed the path of light. The stone is once again complete. Take it to face our enemy.
Edward, can you hear me?
The Lightbringer is manifesting through him.
No! No, not you! I told you! You're not alone in this!
Choose quickly, Carrier. Kill her or let her live. You alone can decide, and you will decide for all. The last free act of man was murder.
So was his first free act.
You're not a man anymore.
I'm the light bringer. I'm the fucking universe.
Men will stand against you.
Did you think I'd come alone?
And there you have it. That is the end, well, one of 2 endings for Alone in the Dark 2008. And it was a cliffhanger. Yeah, I guess their assumption was that this would end up, I guess, reinvigorating the franchise and allowing a more, or allowing some follow-up to the games. It's just, well, obviously that wasn't the case. I think Atari pretty much got bought out by maybe Infogrames pretty much the next year, and yeah, the IP was pretty much dead up until, I think, 2015, whenever Alone in the Dark Illumination came out, and, well, that was even less Alone in the Dark-like than this game. But yeah, so, ending feelings on this, but definitely not as bad as I think pretty much everybody makes it out to be. I wouldn't even say it's a diamond in the rough. It's a very passable experience that you can probably pick up on Steam for, $3 and get a good 7 to 8 hours of gameplay out of. I can definitely see in retrospect, though, if you did pay full price for this game when it came out, that you might feel a little bit gypped in regards to, your purchase. But it definitely has some negative points to it. Obviously, the roots of evil that we had to take care of at the end of the game to kind of extraneously add on, 2 to 3 hours of unnecessary backtracking were definitely unwarranted. And obviously the story could be better. I mean, it'd be nice if either of the endings were that rewarding, but as you'll see in the bonus video, the good ending isn't that much better. But, yeah, in the end, I think this was a pretty rewarding experience to play, if only for the, experience of saying I've beaten Alone in the Dark 2008, which is kind of a quintessential bad game, and it's nice to find out that it wasn't that terrible. So, hopefully you did enjoy the ride. Hopefully you will join me next time as I decide to play something else. And hope you all have a pleasant evening. See you next time.
Stoli messaging